Whoopah!
We can't help but laugh out loud no matter how many times we watch these iconic scenes. Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 funniest Friends moments ever.
Ross, you okay?
They're still not coming on, man, and the lotion and the powder have made a paste.
This list, we're looking at comical moments on Friends, excluding the more sentimental or poignant moments. Blackout. In this season 1 episode, there are several hilarious competing storylines. First, Chandler is stuck in an ATM vestibule with Victoria's Secret model Jill Goodacre and embarrasses himself in a variety of ways.
This is not my gum. Oh my god. Oh my god. And now you're choking.
Are you alright?
Meanwhile, Ross is trying to find a moment to tell Rachel how he feels about her, and right as he's about to finally say it, a cat jumps on him from the balcony, and the scene that ensues is pure comedy gold. With one great laugh after another, this whole episode is perfection.
Gum would be perfection. Could have said gum would be nice. Could have said I'll have a stick, but no. For me, gum is perfection.
Number 9. They don't know that we know that they know.
They thought that they could mess with us? They're trying to mess with us? They don't know that we know they know we know.
When Monica and Chandler begin a secret romantic relationship, the other friends learn one by one what's been going on behind closed doors. There are many hilarious moments throughout this storyline, but the episode where everybody finds out is the pinnacle of all the clandestine conversations and funny efforts to hide what's been going on.
Actually, it looks really good.
Rachel, Phoebe, and Joey decide to mess with the happy couple by forcing their hands to admit they've been dating. The final showdown between Chandler and Phoebe will go down in history as a classic sitcom scene.
Well, I guess there's nothing left for us to do but kiss.
Here it comes.
Number 8. The Holiday Armadillo.
I'm part Jewish.
You are? Me too.
Because armadillos also wandered in the desert?
You want to wander in the hall?
It seems like all of the most ridiculous situations happen to Ross. One holiday season, wanting to impart some of his family's Jewish heritage to Ben, Ross decides to share the story of Hanukkah with his son.
Wow, thanks!
You're welcome, Ben. Merry Christmas. Ooh, and Happy Hanukkah!
Ben isn't showing much enthusiasm for his religious roots, so Ross tries to rent a Santa costume to impress him instead. Unfortunately, it's way too close to Christmas for Santa outfits to be available, so he ends up with the next best thing.
I'm the Holiday Armadillo! I'm a friend of Santa.
The hilarity only piles on as Chandler dresses as Santa and Joey arrives as Superman, for some reason.
My favorite part was when Superman flew all the Jews out of Egypt.
Number 7. Monica teaching Chandler the erogenous zones.
A 3-2. 2, a 2-4-6, 2-4-6, 4.
Before Monica and Chandler get together as a couple, she offers him some friendly advice that will hopefully come in handy later in their relationship. Chandler is worried because he hasn't slept with his new girlfriend Kathy, and has some nerves because of the fact that she dated Joey before him.
And you're afraid you won't be able to fill his shoes.
No, I'm afraid I won't be able to make love as well as him.
Monica, ever the good friend, decides to draw him a diagram to ensure that their first time together is a memorable one. She ends up getting absorbed in her lesson on sensuality and gives an enthusiastic performance that is side-splittingly funny.
7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7, 7.
Number 6. Unagi.
Danger!
What the hell was that?
A lesson in the importance of unagi.
When Rachel and Phoebe start taking self-defense classes together, Ross insists that what they're learning isn't enough to truly combat assailants. He tells them that in his expert opinion, the only thing that really works in terms of self-defense is to practice unagi. or a state of total awareness.
You knew that was coming, but that doesn't mean you have unagi.
Ooh, you know what? If we made reservations, we could have unagi in about a half hour.
The three end up continually trying to outwit each other throughout the episode. But the girls get the last laugh when Ross practices his attack on what turns out to be two unsuspecting strangers who bear a resemblance to his friends.
We should help them. I don't think they need any help.
Number 5. When Joey becomes Chandler.
You hide my clothes, I'm wearing everything you own.
Oh my God! That is so not the opposite of taking somebody's underwear.
The best Friends episodes are usually the ones where the 6 characters are isolated to one of their apartments, and their ever-comical social dynamics make up the plot of that week's story.
You hide my clothes, I'm gonna do the exact opposite to you.
What are you gonna show me my clothes?
In the one where no one's ready, Chandler and Joey are in an immature battle over who gets to sit in a favorite chair, which escalates to the point where Joey has put on all of Chandler's clothes and is doing impressions of him while lounging around the apartment. Could this episode be any funnier?
Look at me, I'm Chandler. Could I be wearing any more clothes? Maybe if I wasn't going commando.
Number 4. Rachel's Thanksgiving Trifle.
First there's a layer of ladyfingers, then a layer of jam, then custard, which I made from scratch. Then raspberries, more ladyfingers, then beef sauteed with peas and onions, then a little bit more custard.
Rachel is known among the Friends for her spoiled upbringing and lack of street smarts. This, of course, means that she's far from being a competent cook, but at her insistence, Monica lets her tackle the ever-important Thanksgiving dessert. 2 pages of the cookbook become stuck together, so what Rachel ends up creating is half trifle and half shepherd's pie.
It tastes like feet.
I like it.
Not wanting to make her feel bad for her mistake, the rest of the gang does their best to hide the fact that the dish is a total atrocity. This is far from being the only funny holiday dinner situation, as Monica putting the turkey on her head comes in at a close second. Number 3. Joey on Pyramid.
I'm writing in my diary. No, more like a notebook. Damn it! Okay. If I'm building a house, the plan isn't called a schmoo-print. Can't do that either?
The entirety of the episode entitled The One Where the Stripper Cries is proof that even in its final season, Friends was still killing it in the comedy game. Joey is appearing as a celebrity contestant on the classic game show Pyramid, and despite his partner giving clear and obvious clues, he cannot manage to win a single round.
You put this on a sandwich.
Salami, anchovies, jam.
It's white.
Paper, snow, a ghost.
It's made from eggs.
Chickens.
At the same time, Monica and Rachel are throwing Phoebe a bachelorette party, but they've got the wrong idea about the type of event she was hoping for. They end up getting a stripper at the last minute, which yields disastrous results.
Big surprise! The hunk of beef has feelings.
Number 2. Pivot.
I just don't think it's gonna fit.
Oh yeah, well come on, up. Yes. Oh, here we go. Pivot.
After Ross's rough patch caused by his separation from Emily and being let go from his job, he is finally getting back on his feet and moving into a new place. He buys a new couch for his new pad, but refuses to pay the pricey delivery fee, sure that he can move it without professional help. He enlists Rachel to give a hand, but the two of them end up comically stuck in an awkward position.
You got it?
Yeah.
Good.
Oh.
Yeah, you got it, right? You got it, right? You got it.
Chandler joins the efforts, but even with a drawn-out plan, things do not go well. Ross's increasingly frantic directions to his friends are hilarious no matter if this is your first time seeing the episode or your 100th.
Pivot! Shut up!
Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
And then he ran his hand up my leg, and then there was definite... What?
Cupping.
That's how they do pits.
Hello, Mrs. Ross.
Well, hello, Mr. Rachel.
Oh my God. Congratulations, Ross, because Chandler, you've been bamboozled.
is the best game ever!
Number 1, the game or the apartment swap.
Name that grandmother.
Nana?
She has a real name.
Althea!
Althea, what are you doing?
I took a shot.
You're shooting with Althea?
Althea is correct.
Nice shooting!
There is no episode more quintessentially Friends than the one with the embryos, where Rachel and Monica enter into a wager with Joey and Chandler that ends up costing them their apartment.
I can get this! I can get this! Oh no!
It starts with a simple bet, but things escalate quickly when the stakes are raised and tensions run high. It's hard to pick a single standout moment from this storyline, because each line is funnier than the last.
Joey had an imaginary childhood friend. His name was...
Maurice!
Correct. His profession was...
Oh, Space Cowboy!
Correct!
Since the game involves trivia about the friends' pasts, fans get to learn some quirky facts about their character backstories that get funnier and funnier as the game progresses.
Now, what was Monica's nickname when she was a field hockey goalie? Big fat
Loyal
goalie.
viewers of the Smash NBC sitcom Friends were taken on an emotional roller coaster ride over the course of 10 seasons. In addition to the laughs, the show served up plenty of devastating developments too, and a lot of moving performances. Here are the most heartbreaking moments on Friends. Remember Mr. Heckles? Played by Larry Hankin, the eccentric neighbour lived just below Monica and Rachel, and he'd often pop round to complain about noise or otherwise cause trouble. No, he wasn't the friendliest man, but it was still a total bummer when he passed away in the aptly titled Season 2 episode, The One Where Heckles Dies. As you may recall, Heckles leaves the contents of his apartment to Monica and Rachel, or as he calls them, the two noisy girls upstairs. Finally, the gang gets to see what Mr. Heckles was like before he became a hoarder and a hermit. The experience is particularly jarring for Chandler, who realizes his picky ways might make him turn out just like Mr. Heckles one day. Just try not to be moved as Chandler turns off the apartment lights for one last time, telling the empty room,
Goodbye, Mr. Heckles. We'll try to keep it down.
Throughout the series, it's abundantly clear that Ross has a serious crush on Rachel, and he's been madly in love with her ever since they were awkward teens. In the Season 2 episode, the one with the prom video, we get to watch a young Ross demonstrate his undying love for Rachel in a way that's cute but admittedly rather upsetting. And it's all thanks to the titular videotape, which features footage of Rachel and Monica's high school prom night. Watching the video as adults, the gang sees Ross get himself all dressed up, fully prepared to step in and be Rachel's date, because the guy who was supposed to take her was apparently a no-show. But just as Ross is about to surprise Rachel, she runs out the door because her date has finally arrived. Ross is left all alone in his suit, holding flowers, looking altogether heartbroken. You gotta admit, it's a super sad moment. Then again, all's well that ends well. Monica's relationship with Richard was iffy from the start. After all, he was her dad's best friend and he watched her grow up. Still, the complicated May to December relationship seemed like the real deal. That's why it's so tough to watch the couple break up in the Season 2 episode, the one with Barry and Mindy's wedding. There's no big fight leading up to the decision. In fact, the whole exchange is entirely cordial.
You're the most wonderful man.
Nevertheless, the characters come to realize that they're both at different places in their lives. Monica wants to have children, but Richard is already a father and grandfather, and he doesn't want to start all over again. As they dance slowly, knowing full well that they're splitting up, fans must have shed a few tears. It's one of the most famous breakup scenes in television history. It's also easily one of the most heartbreaking. When Ross sleeps with another woman mere hours after putting things on pause with Rachel, it totally ruins their relationship. All this drama goes down in the Season 2 episode, the one where Ross and Rachel take a break, and the aftermath is far from cute.
I don't cheat, right? That's not me. I'm not Joey. Whoa.
Unless you have a heart of stone or happen to have already memorized the episode after seeing it a million times in syndication, you're sure to shed a tear or two as Ross begs Rachel to forgive him for his mistake. And you'll likely be bawling when she tells him that she can never look at him in the same way again.
No, Ross, don't! You can't just kiss me and think you're gonna make it all go away, okay? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't just make it better, okay?
Okay.
5 of the 6 main Friends characters come from stable, even privileged households, and Phoebe is the sole exception. Throughout the show, it becomes clear that her childhood was far from normal and her home life was really quite traumatic at times. In the Season 4 episode, the one with the cat, a wayward feline abruptly enters Central Perk like she owns the place, and Phoebe comes to believe the sprightly creature is actually the reincarnated spirit of her mother who took her own life. It's a deeply silly yet oddly moving plot development, as you can clearly see.
This is the spirit of my mom Lily, the one that killed herself.
Ross, the ever-skeptical scientist, just can't accept this idea, and he tells Phoebe his thoughts on the matter in no uncertain terms. She responds by asking him how many parents he's lost, and he has to admit he hasn't lost either of his parents. The scene culminates with Phoebe saying,
I believe this is my mother. Even if I'm wrong, who cares? Just be a friend, okay? Be supportive.
Sure, Ross apologizes to the cat, but it's already too late. By that point, we're sure viewers have already been reduced to piles of quivering, sobbing jelly. In the Season 5 episode, the 100th, Phoebe decides to carry a baby for her brother and sister-in-law, and it unexpectedly ends up being triplets. Sadly, it soon becomes abundantly clear that Phoebe had no idea just how hard it would be to give all these babies up. And here's a small detail that only adds to all this heartbreak. In the episode, the one with Phoebe's uterus, Phoebe's biological mother presents her daughter with a scrappy puppy in the hopes of teaching her a lesson about how hard it can be to lose something you love. But Phoebe goes through with the pregnancy anyway, and after giving birth, she has to give up the newborns. Clearly, producers are really tugging at the heartstrings here, particularly when Phoebe cradles the babies in her arms and says,
Everyone said labor was the hardest thing I'd ever have to do, but they were wrong, this is.
And to think this sad-making scenario takes place during Friends' 100th episode. Producers evidently wanted to give the show's dedicated fanbase an unforgettable gift, in the form of a broken heart. Throughout the series, fans were typically rooting for Ross and Rachel's relationship, but let's not forget that romance also bloomed between Rachel and Joey. At first, Rachel is totally oblivious to Joey's feelings, which really makes a whole lot of sense. At the time, she's pregnant with Ross's baby, a plot development that certainly makes things even more complicated. In the Season 8 episode, the one where Joey tells Rachel, Joey finally admits his romantic feelings, and Rachel is forced to tell him that she doesn't feel the same way. The moment leaves both characters in tears, and we're sure the audiences at home were similarly beside themselves.
Joey, please don't leave like this. No, come on, you cannot do this to a pregnant woman.
Start doing that.
Of course, some viewers had issues with the entire Joey-Rachel relationship from start to finish, and some cast members reportedly felt that the romance felt kind of incestuous. Meanwhile, People magazine writer Kelsey Miller argued that Matt LeBlanc's performance was so wrenching that it almost distracted from the ickiness of the story itself. Whatever your feelings on this highly divisive topic, there's no denying this episode will give you a serious case of sad face. As fans probably recall, actor Paul Rudd appeared on Friends and played Phoebe's love interest, Mike Hannigan. An irresistibly adorable pair, fans were shocked when the relationship hit a serious bump in the road, an unfortunate turn of events that unfolds as the couple is moving in together in the Season 9 episode, the one with the boob job. Even though they're both deeply in love, Phoebe and Mike ultimately call it quits, and it's a breakup that no one ever saw coming. The reason for the split? One of them didn't see marriage in their future.
But you don't want to get married either, right?
Right. Except that I do want to get married.
While their separation turns out to be temporary, to say the least, it might have been a permanent breakup if Phoebe had ended up with Hank Azaria's character David as was originally intended. In 2016, Azaria told the Huffington Post, "The plan always was kind of to bring David back. I think, honestly, what happened was Paul Rudd is so awesome that they sort of found a groove with him, and Mike became more of just the grist for that mill as opposed to the other way around." It sounds like Azaria was a bit bummed by this unforeseen turn of events. He admits, "It actually did sting a little bit. Whatever part of me is David, the science guy who went to Minsk, which admittedly is probably a small part of me, but that part of me wanted to end up with Phoebe, so I was sort of sad when I didn't." Deciding to have a baby is usually a joyous moment, but it can be emotionally draining and downright devastating if you happen to have trouble conceiving. Monica and Chandler face this sad situation in the Season 9 episode, the one with the fertility test. After the couple both get their titular fertility tests, they soon find out that they're unlikely to get pregnant. Chandler receives the news when a doctor rings him up, and then he has to find a way to gently tell Monica.
It means that we can keep trying. But there's a good chance this may never happen for us.
It's absolutely heartbreaking when they apologize to one another and embrace, fearing that their dreams of parenthood may never come to fruition. What makes the scene even more touching is the fact that actress Courtney Cox experienced her own fertility struggles and had several miscarriages while filming the show. During an interview with NBC News in 2004, while pregnant with her daughter after years of enduring multiple miscarriages, Cox admitted, "Oh my God, it was terrible having to be funny." Saying goodbye to someone who's been part of your life for years is never easy. But what about when that person dies and seems to send you messages from beyond the grave? We've all been there, right? Well, perhaps not, but Joey certainly has. Soon after Joey fires his longtime acting agent Estelle Leonard, she passes away. The bittersweet storyline plays out during the 15th episode of the show's final season, which is artlessly entitled The One Where Estelle Dies. Ever the good friend, Phoebe tries to protect Joey, albeit in a characteristically misguided way. She attempts to shield him from the truth about Estelle so that he doesn't feel guilty about how their professional relationship ended. At first, she pretends to be Estelle during a phone call, but she eventually has to end the well-intentioned ruse and calls Joey to give him a final farewell.
I wanted to call and tell you that there's no hard feelings for firing me.
As you can see, there's a major twist. Joey has already learned that Estelle died, so now he thinks he's receiving a call from her spooky ghost. It's certainly a funny bit, but it's also rather melancholy watching him say goodbye. Fans probably realised this was one of several ways the show was wrapping up storylines as the series hurtled towards its inevitable end. It's unlikely that anyone expects to watch the final episode of Friends without crying. And in the very last scene of the last episode, it's pretty much guaranteed that anyone who can cry will cry. As Monica and Chandler move out of their apartment to start a new life with their baby twins, the entire group gathers together to leave their keys and close the door for the very last time. While it's certainly a sad moment for the fictional friends, it was quite a brutal scene for fans to watch, and it was apparently quite tough for the actors to go through too. Sitting down with Oprah shortly after filming the finale, Jennifer Aniston explained, "I don't think we've ever taken more time in hair and makeup in between scenes."
We kept crying all of our makeup off over and over again.
In the same interview, David Schwimmer admitted, "I started to lose it in this ritual that we have before the show, which is just a group hug, kind of get in a little circle right before we come out."
That was the moment I was dreading for a long time.
Fans may need their own group hug after watching this heartbreaking scene.